we're going to be doing something a little bit differently today. I am currently on r/NoSleep, a subreddit for realistic horror stories. Everything is true here, even if it's not. So normally on the channel we have a lot of gameplay going on, but today we're going to be calming things down a little bit. There's going to be a lot of reading going on throughout this video. So this is normally going to be something that you have open. Let's say that you're studying, doing homework. Maybe you have this playing while you're in the car going for a car ride. Maybe going to work or something. Or you may be doing something else like cleaning the house or whatever the case may be. Or you may even be reading along with me. But no matter the case, let's go ahead and strap in and let's get into it. I am recording this at midnight, by the way, so this is pretty fitting, I'm not gonna lie. But let's start things off here with how do I get my girlfriend to knock off this annoying habit? So I've been dating my girlfriend for almost a year, and last month we moved in together. Maybe that's kind of fast, I don't know. My parents sure thought it was, but honestly, everything was great in the beginning. We got along really well, and we've never had more than a brief argument. But then she started whistling. It's so dumb, I know, but she's always whistling this weird song. It really gets on my nerves. My mom kept telling me that once you move in with someone, you discover all the quirks they've been hiding from you. It's not like I didn't expect that to be true, but for some reason, this is just an ongoing issue with us, and I don't know what to do. At first, I would just hear her whistling it when she was showering. It's kind of cute, like her own little bathroom theme song. I didn't recognize the melody, but it was very distinct. I could mimic it from memory if I wanted to. In fact, sometimes it gets stuck in my head, and it drives me a little crazy. You know the type. After a week or so, I asked her what the song was. She just laughed. I'm wondering if maybe she came up with it on her own, something that she does absently, especially once she started doing it more. Like I'd be reading a book, and she'd be on the computer, and she'd just start whistling. I tried to ignore it. I seriously felt like a dick for being so grumpy about it, and I know she wasn't doing it to annoy me. But she'd just go on, and it would pull my attention away from whatever I'm doing. So I finally said something a few nights ago. I was going over some legal documents for work, and she just starts whistling like crazy, on, and I'm trying to just block it out, but it's seriously excessive. Like, I know you guys are probably thinking I was overreacting, but it felt like she was whistling right into my ear, and it just frayed my last bit of patience. As calmly and nicely as I could, I called out to her and asked her to quiet down. She didn't reply. I asked her again. She still didn't answer. So I left the bedroom and I found her in the living room watching a movie. She wasn't whistling anymore. And for some reason, that really irked me. It felt like she was messing with me. And she just looked over at me like she didn't know what my deal was. I asked her if she could stop whistling so much, and she told me that she wasn't whistling. Now, I get that maybe she doesn't realize she's doing it, but no one whistles that much and doesn't notice. It's not really like her to mess with me like that. I don't know what she's trying to get off of this. I thought maybe she was teasing or playing a joke, but she had to see how annoyed I was. I asked her again to just not whistle so loudly. She didn't answer. There was tension in the room, and it felt like our first fight since moving in together. Even though she didn't whistle for the rest of the night, I couldn't focus on my work anyway because I was upset about the confrontation. Then, of course, the next night she was whistling again. I hear her when she comes home from work, and she keeps going for at least an hour. I didn't want to have another fight, so I just hung out in the bedroom and listened to her move around for a while. I felt like she was blowing things out of proportion, but honestly, how hard is it to just not whistle all the time? It was no big deal when it was now and then, but I feel like she whistles more than she even talks to me now. So I'm sitting up in the room thinking about that. That's probably why I worked up when I finally came down. She was cooking dinner, which is sweet, but she was still whistling. So I said softly, "Hey honey, maybe we should put on some music instead, so you don't have to fill the silence with whistling." I tried to play it off like a joke, but I knew she'd probably see through it and get annoyed again. She didn't even turn to face me, just kind of huffed and kept cooking. After a minute, I told her I was sorry about the other night, but the whistling just sort of strikes my ear wrong, and if she could try not to whistle so much and so loudly, it would make my life a lot easier. I feel like I was being fair. I know it seems controlling and nitpicky, but it was bothering me a lot. We all have our things, you know? I try not to chew loudly at the table because it bothers her, so why can't she just stop whistling sometime for me? but she totally freaked out. She turned around and told me she wasn't whistling and she didn't know what my problem was. At this point, I don't get why she was doing this. It obviously wasn't funny for either of us. She seemed genuinely upset. So I don't know why she kept provoking me. I asked her what her deal was, why she was so defensive about the stupid whistling. She told me to shut up. She told me she was sick of talking about it, like I was the one being unreasonable. I never get mad at her, but I just snapped. I told her to stop whistling before I lose my mind. She called me crazy, just because I was getting a little upset. And somehow, that was all I could take. I grabbed one of the cast iron pans from the stove and swung it at her head as hard as I could. She fell over and smashed her head on the counter, but I swung the pan again before she hit the ground. I think I hit her maybe 3 or 4 times. I don't remember, but I feel horrible. There was blood everywhere, and her jaw might be broken. No, I think it is for sure. I couldn't believe I'd lost my temper like that. I have no idea how we can move past this. I feel so ashamed for letting things get physical, regardless of how much she might have provoked me. Regardless of how much she might have been provoking me. But here's the kicker. She's still fucking whistling. And I asked her nicely, please stop, but now she won't even pause. For 2 days, she's just been lying on the kitchen floor with her eyes rolled back and her mouth hanging open, just marinating in congealed blood, and she's still fucking whistling. I don't know what to do. I don't want to break up, but this is just too much. I just need to shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. Just shut up. Wow, Jesus. I did not expect things to get that violent. Like, that took a wide turn to the left. I don't know why reading that, I felt like someone was like right behind me looking over my shoulder. I just felt so weird. Maybe it's because I'm being paranoid right now, or maybe because it is midnight when I'm reading this, and this is no sleep. But I just get this weird feeling that something's watching me right now. Okay, so I was looking at the comments of this one, and it's been saying that it's been messing people up. So let's go ahead and check out. I just found the letters my best friend and I used to send each other when he moved away. I wish I had. I don't think I've ever told the story before. I've done my best to repress the memories of that year of my life. Maybe I've vaguely referenced certain aspects about the ordeal here and there. It would have been impossible not to, considering its impact, but I never regaled it in its entirety. I've been cleaning out the basement at my mom's house, and towards the back, buried under a mess of boxes filled with random junk and old clothes, was a small, clear plastic storage container. I had no idea that my mom had kept the letters. The letters began not long after my best friend Ben, the kid from who I'd been just shy of inseparable since we were 3 years old, was moving away. I remember being crushed that day when Ben came up to me in our 4th grade class with puffy eyes and told me he and his mom were leaving town. That night at home, my mom explained that Ben's grandpa was no longer capable of caring for himself. As such, his mom had decided to move out to the very small town in which he lived, which itself was 2 states over, and stay in his house until such time her assistance was no longer necessary. My mom also suggested I get their new address and give them mine, so Ben and I could write back and forth. So we did, starting with the first letter Ben sent me a couple months after they left. November 19th, 1989. Hey dude, it's very boring here. There is nothing to do. Not outside at least. But guess what? My mom got me so many games. Crash Team Racing, Crash Bandicoot Warped, Dino Crisis, Driver, 007, Tomorrow Never Dies, and then these 2 games called Grand Theft Auto, but they're weird, and the graphics are stupid. Driver is the coolest one, but I haven't played 007 too much yet because I just got it. You should come visit sometime and check out Driver. And I'm still playing Tony Hawk a lot. Duh! The next house is far away from ours, but there's nothing at our house that's any fun. School is dumb too. There's kids from 3 different towns that go to my new school, my teacher said. I already know everything they're teaching. I wish I could come back home. Oh, my mom met an old friend of hers named Joe, and he's been here a lot. He's nice, and he plays PlayStation with me. I think he lets me win, but he says he doesn't. We have to make our moms let you come out here, or let me come back there. Dude, what if my mom would let me come live with you? We would basically be brothers. Talk to your mom and see if she would let me. I'll talk to mine too. Sincerely, Ben Nebel. P.S. Skater Bros for life, bro. You already know. It might be cringy to you, but Skater Bros was what we lived for back then. We were gonna be pro skateboarders. It was a dumb dream, but it was ours. We generally sent a letter back and forth every week. This went on for about 7 months, with us just telling each other about our weeks. what was going on with the people from our respective schools, and both of us regaling how we tried to convince our moms to let Ben come live with us back home. But the most prevalent theme of the letters was Ben's laminating of the situation as a whole. I wish I never had to come to this stupid house. I hate living with my grandpa. He doesn't even remember who we are a lot. My school is the worst. All the kids there are dumb. You would hate them. At least 2 of these types of statements were made in each letter. That's why it was so surprising when, after those 7 months of letters of that type, there was a lull of about 2 months, at the end of which I received one from him. One where his attitude had seemingly completely reversed. September 2nd, 2000. Hey Nick! Guess what? I found a skate park a few minutes away from my house. It's sick! There's not a lot of people live here. It's not very busy that much. The woods here are pretty cool too. I think I just didn't like them because it's been cold. This is actually a pretty fun place. Some of these kids are pretty cool actually. They're not skater bros cool, but they're okay. Joe brought me a PlayStation 2, and the game Street Fighter EX3, and Dead or Alive 2, and Dynasty Warriors 2. My grandpa is still my grandpa. But he's doing okay, I guess. Guess what? My mom said she would pay for you guys to drive out here. She said she feels bad you haven't come back and I haven't come home, and so she said she'll pay. She told me to tell you to ask your mom to take some time off work to come out and visit. In your next letter, let me know when she is able to do that so my mom can too. Finally, bro! Ben Neville. The last letter I'd received before that one was much like they'd always been. Unenthusiastic, withdrawn, scornful. All of his surroundings. It was a sudden switch. But I was happy for him. I kept my mom apprised of his letters, letting her know what was going on their end of things. When it came to this letter, she finally relented and promised me to take some time off work in a couple months, even going so far as letting me miss school for a few days so we could visit before it got too cold and started snowing. I wrote him back a few days later, giving him the dates my mom had notified her firm she wouldn't be in, as well as requesting their phone number. I got Ben's reply very shortly thereafter. September 12th, 2000. Hey man, my mom said those days are perfect and she'd ask off work. Finally, dude! There aren't any houses to trick or treat at, so we just have to hang out on Halloween. Best holiday ever, by the way. But you should still bring a costume. We will have to go to the skate park and play my PS2. Did you get a PS2? If you did, bring your games that they aren't ones I have. Here's our number. Joe, my mom's friend, might answer. She said your mom can call and make sure it's all okay. XXXXXXXXX. Sincerely, Ben Neville. My mom did indeed call, and Ben's mom's boyfriend Joe indeed answered. He politely informed my mom that Joanna, Ben's mom, wasn't yet back from work, but that everything as planned was good to go, and that they were excited to see us, and he to meet us. Remarking that there was rarely a time that Ben didn't relate a conversation to me, his hometown, in some way, and that it would be good for him to see me. After getting and writing down the directions to their home 2 states over, my mom hung up the phone and informed me of the good news. Our plans spanned 7 days, 1 day for driving and getting there, 5 days there, and a day to drive and get back home. We left on October 26th, a Thursday. I was so excited. I can't even find words to describe how amped I was. I was finally going to see my closest friend, the person to whom I related most that I hadn't seen for the better part of a year. On top of that, I was getting to miss school. And on top of that, it was going to be Halloween, our favorite holiday. By all accounts, this was shaping up to be a great week. We made the 10.5-hour drive, and upon the last few directions my mom had been given, we found ourselves traversing long, empty roads. Finally, we made the last directed turn, and in the distance we could see a house. Dusk had settled, and it was that odd few moments where it's light out and dark out simultaneously when we pulled up to the house. We parked next to Joanna's van, which was decorated with a large dent in the driver's side that I had made but that Ben had taken the blame for, and another car that presumably belonged to her boyfriend, Joe. As we got out of the car, a man emerged from the front door of the house wearing a Frankenstein costume. Hey guys, welcome. I'm Joe. You must be Amber and Nick. Hey Nick, little birdie told us that your favorite holiday is Halloween, so we thought we'd start the celebration early. I hope you brought a costume. I was insanely ecstatic. I did. I brought a costume. I yelled up to the man. Well, suit up, partner. We have a surprise all set up for you when you're ready. Ben wanted to make you guys reuniting extra spectacular. I asked my mom if I could change into her right away, to which she obliged. I sprinted up the porch steps with my bag and was directed by Joe to the bathroom, while he stayed behind to greet my mother. As I walked through the house, I heard him say, "Very nice to meet you, Amber. Joanna's finishing things in the basement." Ben set up I remember looking around their house and finding the mess within it strange. It wasn't exponentially messy or anything, but Ben's mom was always kind of a neat freak. Their house never had anything out of place. This new house, however, had dirty dishes on the dining room table, piles of clothes all over the place, things like that. Again, Nothing too outrageous, just uncharacteristic. I changed into my Power Ranger costume in the bathroom and walked back to the living room, where my mom and Joe stood talking. Besides a bit of a mess, the house was decorated for Halloween pretty elaborately. There were, obviously, decorative cobwebs all over the place, bowls of candy throughout the house, a decorative skeleton in a chair in the corner of the living room, stuff like that. I was very excited to see what they'd done with the basement. Joe ushered us towards the basement door and opened it to let us through it, closing it behind him. There were small lights on each of the steps we used to guide us down. Once we got to the bottom of the steps, we were forced to turn left down a very narrow walkway. I remember being scared. The darkness and confinement was overwhelming, but I also remember my mom leaning down and whispering to me, "It's okay. Ben told Joe how much you guys liked the haunted maze you went to a couple years ago, so I built one for you guys since there was nothing around here." My mom kept her hand on my shoulder as we walked through. Lights would flash, and things would pop out and drop down, and loud noises would blast from speakers just like a normal haunted maze. And for being in the basement, I recall it being surprisingly well done. I heard Joe from behind my mom say, "The finale is just up ahead." We made one more turn and found two small lights pointed up at a pair of dark blue curtains hanging down. "Let me sneak by you guys real quick. Come in when I tell you." "He wants this to be perfect," Joe said enthusiastically as he brushed past us and through the curtains, being sure to keep them as close as possible so as to not ruin the surprise. "Ready to see your best friend? I know you much you guys have been looking forward to this," he said from behind the curtain. And I was. It had been nearly a year since I'd seen Ben, and I was more than ready. And just after a few seconds, we heard, "Come in!" followed by a comical, spooky laugh, like the kind of Scooby-Doo villain would make. I was so excited to see my best friend. My mom whispered for me to go in, and I walked through the curtains. And there he was, along with his mom and two other men. His mom was nude, her body cut into 8 pieces, all of them nailed to the wall, fashioned to make it look like as she was waving to us. Ben's grandpa was in a rocking chair, also nude, with his hands sewn to his ankles and his feet sprawled to his wrist. His mouth has been cut at the edges of his lips, and his mouth was open twice as far as any person's mouth should be able to open. Next to him was another man, presumably and later confirmed to be the real Joe, hung from a rope tied to a load-bearing beam in the ceiling. All the skin from his torso removed. His tongue was nailed into his forehead. That may have actually been Ben's grandpa, but I don't think so. It's been a long time, and like I said, I've done my best to not think about it. Drinking glasses of various sizes, as well as saucers and bowls, were strewn around the floor, all filled with blood, I'm assuming. On the wall, made from strips of the real Joe's removed skin, were the words, "Missed you." To the left was the man who had posed as Joe, who had terrified, sobbing Ben Brown at his knees facing me. Ben was filthy, as if he hadn't bathed or changed his clothes in months. Joe quickly tore away at the piece of duct tape that was covering my best friend's mouth and said, "Quick, say hi." Ben just continued crying. I don't even think he had time to comprehend his chance at last words. This whole thing lasted less than 5 seconds. I had walked through those curtains and stopped in my tracks, blocking my mom from entering the area. She had soon thereafter poked her head through and immediately pulled back from whence we'd come to run back through the maze. The last image I have of my best friend in the world, the person with whom I shared every interest. The other half of the would-be skateboard phenomenon in the skate bros was of him on his knees in front of the psychopath, sobbing, as that psychopath took a hacksaw to his neck and started thrusting his arm back. As my mom repeatedly told me to go, move, run, all I could hear was the gurgled screams of Ben Nebel, and at one point the loud voice of the madman who'd taken his life. "Oh, come on! You're not even gonna let him watch? You're no fun!" Followed by disturbingly calm yet loud laughter. We found our way back to the stairs, where my mom told me to go outside and get in the car and lock the doors. Knowing now wasn't the time to question her, I abided. I looked back as I ran through the hallway and saw her tip over a bookshelf in front of the basement door. She was gone for about 20 seconds after that, but she finally emerged from within the house, ran to the car, and we drove away, stopping at the end of the street. She explained that she'd been looking for and eventually found a phone in their house and called the police. Quickly said a murder had occurred and she'd be at the end of the road from Ben's house, the address to which she had luckily put at the top of the contents of her purse when we'd gone in. Given that we were in literally middle of nowhere, it took the police nearly 20 minutes to arrive. When they did, we led them to the house, and they entered. I remember asking my mom what if the man had run away, but she told me she was confident the bookshelf was too heavy to move on the other side of the basement door. As it turns out, the man hadn't tried to get out through the basement door. He hadn't tried to get out at all. He simply placed the head of my best friend on a small table next to him, wrote a note, or maybe he had it pre-written, I don't recall, put a single barrel shotgun in mouth, and pulled the trigger. I will forever have the images of my best friend's mother, her boyfriend, and her grandfather in their final stages, all the viscera and sinew that accompanies dismembered and skinned bodies. I will forever have the image of that last time my eyes laid upon my best friend. The image burned into my 10-year-old eyes of him with tears streaming down his face and a hacksaw pressed against his neck. But the part about the whole ordeal that sticks with me more than any of that is the note their killer left. You probably want to know why I did it, right? I don't know. I saw an opportunity and I took it. It was pretty funny though, right? Be honest. NBH. Jesus. Now I see why people said that this messed them up. I had a feeling because they described the house being like very remote. But damn, I didn't think it was gonna go that route and that detailed and graphic and everything. And I think we're going to leave it at that, folks. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this. Like I said, this is something new, something that is very different from the pace that we have here on the channel. If you guys want to see this more, make sure you leave a comment and make sure you leave a like. I really don't ask for that often, if at all, to be honest with you. I just want to have some feedback and to see if, you know, this is worth to keep going. It is currently 12:23 a.m. as of me recording this right now, and like I said, the whole time me reading that, it felt like something was like watching me. I don't know why. It just felt really weird. But I'm going to leave it off of that, guys. Hopefully you all did enjoy. Make sure you subscribe down below. Make sure you check out other videos of mine. Until next time, guys, I'll see you all later. Peace out.